Hi guys, Tori here. I've really enjoyed shading and lighting too. We've had a really good month and we've learned a lot of really cool stuff. So this is 4.3 presenting your 3D materials. We're going to go through a few slides and walk through Maya, Nuke, and Unity and just show you some of the things that we worked on this month. So I hope you enjoy. Thank you. All right, 4.3, presenting your 3D materials. So I'm going to load Maya, and while Maya is starting to load, I'm going to go over a few slides with you. So my experience this month in Maya compared to last month was pretty drastic. As you can see, we worked on wireframes, adding a couple of lights, just really getting to know the software and how to export it. And then down here on the bottom for our shading and lighting 2, you can see I added material surfaces as opposed to like making the car shiny, making it more flat, adding texture to the paint, working with paint color, different like materials. Was it metal? Was it plastic? So we really worked on that. That's a lot of cool stuff that we worked on in Maya. So when you're setting Maya, the main thing you want to do is set your project. So we're going to open the scene. We're going to set the project, documents, LAFS, shading and lighting 2, Maya. We're going to go down here. I'm going to open one of my last projects that we went through. I had a lot of fun creating all the materials that we put into these. Here we go, environment part 4. So this was the last file that we made for Maya. As you can see over here on the left, I have my outliner. It shows like a lot of what you're working with, the render cam. I also made a test camera so I could get a lot closer and work with some of the materials. We're going to go ahead and just do a render here inside Maya so I can show you a couple things. So one of the cool things is that it takes a long time for a lot of these things to render. So we're actually going to do a crop. So that way we don't have to wait for the entire image to render while I talk about a few things. Something that we did this month was we worked on creating different material surfaces. So as you can see, these bottles look like they're made out of glass, right? So basically what we did was we created a Pixar surface by going up here, created the Pixar surface, assigned it to the material. We renamed it glass material. This is our glass. Basically, we turned off our gain and our color for our diffuse, just turn that completely off. Then we went down here to glass and we pulled up the reflection gain and the reflection gain and the refraction gain and basically made the reflection color white and made no roughness. So as you can see, the bottles look really smooth. You can kind of see through it. We did add some bending and waving inside by adding different nodes into it. The nodes are really cool. If you go into the Hypershade, we've got, once it decides to load for me. Okay. Doesn't want to load the Hypershade. There we go. So we've got our Hypershade, and I like to get a lot of this stuff cleared up, so it'll all go away in just a second once it decides to load. As you can see here, these are all the materials that I have inside my scene. There we go. Now, if I want to see a specific node, like, see, there's our glass bottle, graph network. So these are our nodes. This is our alpha channel, the matrix. This is the bump value that we add to make that sort of bending light look into it. And you can add other nodes in there, work on stuff. All you have to do is hit tab, and we could add in different things, or you can right click, create node. This is going to give us lots of options. Like let's say we wanted to do a 3D texture and add it into there, we could choose like marble, and then all we would have to do is connect that into there as opposed to this one. So that's basically how you would do that. We're going to go ahead and get rid of that. Close the hypershade. The hypershade is just an easy way to look through everything. You can also display more stuff in the outliner if you choose to. I like using the hypershade better, but it's completely up to you. We also did things with surface properties, like I had a glass sphere and I went ahead and added a glow property to it. We were assigned to do something that makes it kind of look like a mystical orb, and I wanted mine to glow. I thought that was a really unique touch to it, so I went ahead and added some glow and some color into it, and then I even added a light. So as you can see, for our outdoor lights down here, we have our sphere lights, our orb light. So our orb light is in there. It's really, really tiny. It just adds off that little bit extra glow. I changed it to the same color so that way it looked exactly the same. And that's a lot that we worked on. We also worked on things like opening and closing the doors. So if I select the door, I'm going to go ahead and turn my render off for a second so it doesn't go so slow when we view this really quick. So I'm going to show my selection highlighting. I've selected my door. And see, I can open and close my door. And I'm going to put it back to Z so that way I don't actually mess with anything in my scene. Let's go. We're going to look through my selected, which is my test cam really quick. And we have my candles right here. Now my candles were really fun. I went ahead and took a material that I really liked. It was a black candle, and I used it as sort of like a reference image for this candle. And we're gonna let it render for a quick second so we can see what this candle looks like. There's the candle, beautiful. So we're just gonna let that candle do its thing. And as you can see, we have our candle material, did the same thing. And then we also went and worked, go away, with our primary specular. We did some things to make it look like it was glowing on the inside. So those are a lot of stuff that we worked with Maya. Another thing that's really cool that we worked with is like our UVs. So those are my UVs. I've selected it. So we're going to go ahead and open my UV editor. See, that's it right there. Select it. UV, W. What we're going to go ahead and do is put that on so you can see this right here. See that if we wanted to make it, move it around on there in case there's a different part of the texture that you want. Or we can scale it up so it changes the way the texture tiles on the surface. So those are really cool things about UVs, so that way we can put different things on it. Like my pot face over here, you can see those are different than the body. I went ahead and made a UV map, which I'll talk about in a little bit, and did it differently so that way I could make the handles one color and I could make the pot a different color. I'll go ahead and highlight that real quick. Select off of it so you can't see that. And see, I made the handles a different color from the rest of the pot. So those were some things that I thought were really cool in Maya. We're going to go ahead and say don't save that because I messed with some stuff and it was fine the way it was before that. So another thing that we talked about this month was real-world objects and how light affects them, reflection, transmissive, and emissive surfaces. So as you can see, I have a food bowl for my bird on the left. It's a reflective surface. It's completely smooth. You can see me and my phone coming back at you so we can see the full surface. In the middle one is a reflective surface, but it's broken up because it has the different texture on the surface. So you can still see that there's like the color of the phone, and you can kind of see some objects. Some of them are reversed upside down. They're kind of funky, so you can't see them all the way, but you can still see some of the reflective purposes. The third one is still reflective in a way that the material still gives the shiny, reflective sort of metal gold leafing properties, but the roughness is pulled up so much that you can no longer see a reflection in it. It just reflects the light back to you, not an actual image. We have an earring. It has bounce light, so basically the light is going into the surface and then bouncing back at you from different directions, which is kind of what creates that rainbow look inside of it. We have my PlayStation controller, which is an emissive surface, so the light that's coming from it is sort of emitting on its own. And then we have the transmissive surface for my little hand warmer over there, and it has a completely clear surface, so you can see all the way through it, but then it also has the liquid inside, so it's also transmissive because it's not completely clear and see-through. So we're going to go ahead and get Nuke pulled up. So this is what I was talking about in Maya. We created my maps here, my surface maps. I made a texture down here. This is my black material, and then I had sort of like another stone material for the handles. So I created these maps that way once I put it on the UVs, it matched up completely, and then I didn't have to worry about trying to make sure the edges were good, if they completely matched up, things like that by making those. We also worked on tileable textures, which was really fun. I worked on making a wood surface, the walls, the balcony, some other projects that we did in Unity, but making those were really, really cool. So Nuke is kind of the same way. You still have to open your project. So let's go ahead and open that one. So this is something that I was working on, and we were working on breaking apart the image so that way we could change different things inside of Nuke, which was really fun. So as you can see, each one of these are broken up differently, so that way we could change things. So like down here, I have a glow set to this one, which means I can boost this glow right here, or I can make it, I can boost the saturation if I wanted to bump up the brightness. So there's definitely lots of different things you could do in Nuke. And then basically what we would do is we merge them with a plus. So that way all the images came together in one image. We added another glow. So that put more of a glow in the light sources behind it and the candles. Then I merged the second glow that I made. Then I added some exposure to it, so we brightened the whole scene up. Then we did a focus. So basically what I did was I took my focal point and I dragged it somewhere else. So that put my balcony in focus. And then I could either make it more extreme, that's not the right button. Anyways, it's around here. You can either make it like more extreme, or you can make it less extreme by pulling these things up or pulling them down. Different ways you can bring it in and out of focus. Then we added a vignette onto it, darken in the corners. And that was our final image. And then I could also change things inside of there and make them different colors. I'll show you a few that I worked on later. Those are some of the stuff that we're learning about Nuke, and just making sure that everything is set up properly so you keep everything organized and all together, which is probably one of the most important things about Nuke. So that was one of my favorite things that I learned in Nuke. And we will go ahead and get Unity open, although it doesn't like to stay down there for some reason. I'm not 100% sure why. Let's see, the most challenging part of the month for me would have to be render times. I absolutely hated sitting there and waiting for an image to render. This image, which was my final image, took over 6 hours to render because I was trying to get it in a really high quality so you could see all the cracks and the bumps and the emissive purposes from the lights. So yeah, I'd have to say render times were probably the worst for me. So we're going to go ahead and open this. We're opening up Unity really quick so I can show you a couple things that we worked on. Another new thing that we just worked on right now at the end was Substance Painter. And Substance Painter, I think I'm going to enjoy a lot. It works really closely with Unity, and we built a lot of the same scenes inside. We're going to continue anyways on that. Close that. File. Open. Open that. So this is my Substance Painter, and I worked on like creating different materials for the crate, material 1, material 2, and then as you can see, we can change the background properties to kind of change the light to see how it would reflect off the surface, things like that. And then you can go in and choose different materials that you want to put on the different objects. So I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with Substance Painter and learning more about that. Unity, something cool that we did was we built a scene. I added some extra lights over here. I added a spotlight onto it. We have sort of a global light. And then like if we wanted to change sort of the time of day, so if I wanted to make it more like sunset, you can see the sun is up in the sky and now it's going down. And that kind of just shows like the difference in the time of day. But I left lights on it, so no matter what time of day I picked, we could still have those really cool lights. And then if we went into game mode, we already had a camera set up, so we could kind of see how the light reflected off my scale, how it looked with my leather material, how it worked with the reflective properties off the crate. So there's a lot of fun things. Once again, we kept everything super organized. We've got all of our materials over here. Then we have our geometry. I have them named the same thing. That way, no matter what, we're kind of matching up the materials that we put on the geometry. So those are some really cool things that we worked on in Unity. I think I'm really going to enjoy a lot of what I'm working on in upcoming months, especially Substance Painter. I think that's one that I'm like super excited about working in, just to get to know more materials, how the properties work, things like that. I think it's going to be really cool. These are some of the images that we rendered out in Nuke after changing some of like the focal point, and like I made the inside look a little more pink as opposed to more orange. This one I added a very strong vignette, and then I took the color out around the sides, but I left the color in the middle. So it kind of made this sort of old-fashioned, old-timey feel. And then this one's my favorite. I literally went in and and on each property in the background, I changed the lights to make them more green. I made them more yellow. I wanted it to give a very, sort of creepy, old haunted house feel is kind of what I was going for with that. This is what I was talking about with my reference image for my candles. I worked really hard to get them to make all the properties match as well as I could. This is one of the ones we used for a reference image for my car. I'm a big Hero 6 fan. So we have, I added some of the purple to match his armor and then left the little bits of the white on the front to kind of show his personality coming out. So I really hope you guys enjoyed my video and talking about all the stuff that we learned this month. I'm really excited to continue to learn and advance in my career. And I can't wait to talk with you guys on my next video. Thank you.